life on a piece of paper, held by a magnet on the refrigerator, said it all. You can't change the mind of an 18-year-old. Cloud of dust coming from a Gran Torino, taking off. Population, one less restless soul, runaway to below.
Alright, good evening everybody. Welcome to Unexplained Reality. I'm Brian Quinn, and with me is Harrison via Skype.
Via Skype, guys.
Yeah. So, he might be a little, might hear him off in the distance a little bit, but we'll try to tweak that and see if we can't get it better. We used some Skype software last week for doing one of our interviews, and that after I went back and listened to the interview today, I realized that was not very good. So we'll have to work on finding some other Skype utility to record Skype calls. So anyways, how's it going, buddy? I haven't seen you in a while.
Pretty good. Not much going on. Kind of quiet.
Just having fun over there and hanging out.
Yep. Cool.
All right. Well, we got some feedback this week from Richard over in England. That was very cool. Just wanted to hit us up, send us an email, told us what he thought about the show. That he liked it, and was looking forward to our upcoming shows. That actually gave us some ideas for some new shows. So that'll probably be, you'll probably see those pop up in the next few weeks once we have some time to dig into them.
Yeah, and thank you for that, by the way. It's always really good to get feedback from people who like our stream, or not our stream, our podcast. People who you give us feedback, and that's just really nice to us, so we know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And I think we could definitely use more feedback. So if you guys like or don't like it, tell us what we're doing right or wrong, or if you'd like to see anything else on it.
Yeah, for sure. You can always hit us up on our email, unexplained.reality@yahoo.com. On our show notes here, you'll see links to our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. So you can always hit us up there, come friend us, like us, all that good jazz. So that'd be cool. We also have a Patreon page that we started, patreon.com/unexplainedreality, and that link is also in the show notes when it gets posted here. So, hey, you got anything for us, buddy, news-wise, or?
Nope, nothing much.
All right, well, I got a couple things I just found here. A couple different places. The first couple are coming from phantomsandmonsters.com. So they're kind of cool. The first one is this phantomsandmonsters.com, and this was posted just, I think, today. It was a comment about MIBs, Men in Black. Says this comment was left on Beyond Creepy's Joe Borda tobacco farm video. Borda was an Ontario farmer who saw a UFO on his farm, followed by the arrival of MIBs and other weirdness. So it says, quote, commenting on the video regarding the Joe Borda farm incident, around 1978, I moved with my mother from Brantford to Mount Pleasant to live on her boyfriend's farm that was in the same concession just south of Joe's farm. Around 1979, I was on the farm alone as my mom and her friend had gone camping for the weekend. At around 2 a.m., I awoke to the sound of a vehicle idling by our back door. At first, in a haze, I thought I was dreaming, but finally awoke enough to get up and go downstairs to see who it was. About 15 feet from the back door was a large black Lincoln in spotless condition with blacked out windows. As I stared for a minute, a thin, tall man got out with slim and pasty complexion, wearing a black tie, suit, and white shirt. As the door was opened to the car, I could see a man in the passenger seat dressed the same, with similar looks, who stared straight ahead as if in a trance. The figure asked me for directions to a camp that was a mile away on Pleasant Ridge Road. It was a religious camp that I learned later had to be closed for years. He thanked me and left. I woke up in bed in the morning but don't remember going there, and although I thought only 10 minutes had elapsed, it was 7 a.m. in the morning, the next morning. I always awoke automatically at 4:30 a.m. I felt like I had dreamed the whole thing. He continues and says, now as years have passed and more information is available as a result of computers, without looking I have come across many stories of these mysterious people in black. Like the ones on the Borda farm that was only about 1,500 meters away across the bush. Not making any assumptions or drawing any conclusions, but feel this is related to what Joe had experienced on his farm during or about the same time period. Those stories always creep me out. The men in black. That's just frightening. At 2 a.m.
Someone just shows up and they know the situation. They just show up out of nowhere, handle it, and leave.
Yeah.
No questions, nothing. Just, I don't know.
I mean, just pull up at the back of this farmhouse at 2 o'clock in the morning, out in the middle of, I'm sure it's not, it's in a rural setting. For one thing, for the kid to get up, I don't know how old he was, but to get up and go downstairs, I would have been terrified. I'm sure I would have had some kind of weapon with me. And then to see this creepy black car and this guy get out, excuse me, do you know where the camp is? Looking for the camp that's been closed for years. It's where we're doing our secret probing. It's very freaky stuff. Anyways. The next this is a little short one. It's about an upright canine in Calgary. It's also from Phantoms and Monsters. The guy says, I just wanted to report a strange howl/scream that my daughter and I heard last Thursday at around 9 p.m. We just returned from my daughter's gymnastics class when we crossed the street toward our condo. We both heard it plain as a bell. It was no man-made noise. It was horrid and unnerving. I spotted a dog man many years ago inside the city in Calgary, Alberta. It was a very brief encounter, but it was surprising. They are huge, big as a moose. I thought it was a moose until it crossed in front of my car. It carried its arms under its head and ran kind of funny, like springing from foot to foot. I think this is what made this howl/scream. Thought I'd let you know. Been wanting to share this story for a long time. So, that's Dogman stories are another one that creeps me out. So it's not just Mibs. Dogman stories, some Bigfoot stories.
Yeah.
All right. This is another one.
Hanger story we covered a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, that was freaky too. Creepy.
Yeah.
With the uber tall alien or gray or whatever it was.
Stiltwalker, whatever.
Yeah. This one I'd heard about this one somewhere else, but this is also on Phantoms and Monsters, and when I saw this, I thought it'd be cool to share. It's called Walking Coyote in New Mexico. This guy says, I recently watched a YouTube video from Beyond Creepy about an upright walking coyote. The place is Estancia, New Mexico, but my mom was the witness. She would tell me this story of how a coyote she observed would walk right into the valley on two legs, hopping fences, and just outright supernatural. My family has always had strange occurrences through the years, many different sightings of things you could only see if in your worst nightmares. So with this being, I believe the occurrences were in the early 80s. Same MO as the last story. The town only has about 1,300 residents, even to this day, maybe a little more, but I figure why let the story just die with time. Of course, the sightings frightened her, but I remember her saying that the coyote would even stop and notice my mother observing it and lock eye contact before the coyote would just walk away casually, like everything was just normal. I know that it happened more than once. So much so that my mother became maybe even a little accustomed to it. She obviously knew after a while it meant no harm, hence the awkward but familiar locking eyes. I remember the story because she would tell me many times over in my 28 years. Anyways, that's pretty creepy too. I mean, I think it was just Wile E. Coyote from the, what was it, Coyote.
Roadrunner.
Yeah, there you go, from the Roadrunner.
Obviously.
Yeah, he was just looking for his Acme package.
Looking for his dynamite or his anvil.
Or his rocket bike or whatever he would always, rocket skateboard or... Alright, this next one is from cryptozoologynews.com. And the title here is Pennsylvania Man Says Ape-like Humanoids Killing Wildlife and Troops. Not sure what troops is, we'll see. This is Bradford, Pennsylvania. Northern Pennsylvania resident is asking for help dealing with a series of unusual creatures. The man who left a rather cryptic message on the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON, says he has been seeing these beings for the past 3 days. I see them 24/7. They are living in the higher parts of pine trees, but they also use other trees, he said. The Pennsylvanian describes the creatures as ape-like and able to blend in with the trees with the ease of a chameleon. They become one with the trees. Their hands and trees become rooted in the trees when they rest, he explained. Well, that sounds weird. Their hands and trees become rooted in the trees when they... Okay. He says he is afraid of going and investigating on his own because he has seen dead animals in the area. I saw some of our troop dead over there, and I'm afraid to go myself, he said, leaving a giant question mark as to whether he is referring to the military, some kind of domestic animal he had personally named, or a simple typo meaning coop, as in chicken coop, instead of troop. There is currently no option to communicate with a MUFON eyewitness on their website. The man claims this is no joke, and that he needs someone from the UFO organization to go take a closer look for him. I've seen one after it hit the ground, he said. This is not a job for me. The man did not present any images or video or evidence. In late 2016 to be... yeah, okay. Yeah, that's... I don't know. Sounds a little weird. I mean, maybe he's explaining them cloaking.
Yeah, maybe.
When you
I think he's explaining more of a natural kind of camouflage. He's saying, like, their hands become trees. Maybe their hands, like, they wrap their hands around the branches or something so they don't stick out.
Maybe so. Know. Well, you know, there's been plenty of people that have claimed that these creatures can cloak. And, I mean, not... almost like bend light, you know. And there's been plenty of people, and of course you have people say they jump portals and, you know, jump dimensions and stuff. I don't know, but you know, maybe if these things have some kind of special camouflage that we've not seen before. Like I said this last week, I think, talking about one of the stories or something. If you have all these creatures that live in the abyss, in the ocean, right? That they discover every year. They discover new things that do all these crazy things with light. You know, they have all these rainbow colors. And who's to say that there's not an animal that we have yet to discover that actually can somehow disguise itself? You know, camo is just excellent at camouflage. I don't know. I mean, we've never seen nothing like that in a you know, I guess a mammal or, you know, something that was outside of the ocean, but I don't know. It's creepy. But then again, it might just be a case of, yeah, he might be a little off center. I don't know. You never know.
That's true as well.
So, anyways, we'll that's all I had for tonight. Get into the main meat of it here. The story we're going to go into tonight is one that I heard about probably a year or so ago, and it really intrigued me. I've never really got really into it, researching it, until this episode here. But this story is the story of Cullen Finnerty. And he, in case you haven't, just give you a synopsis of what it is. Basically, he went on a fishing trip with family, and on the last night of their weekend outing, I guess he decided he wanted to go do one more solo fishing trip. Got dropped off, and that was the last anybody saw of him. He was found a few days later, deceased. So anyways, we're going to go into that story. So basically, Cullen Finnerty was a star quarterback. He was born in Brighton, Michigan. He attended Brighton High School. When he was a junior, he was named as the Ann Arbor News Player of the Year. He was also the All-Area, All-League, and All-Livingston County Player of the Year. He also lettered in track and baseball. When he was a senior, he was awarded the Livingston County Football Player of the Year award and was named the Ann Arbor News All-Area First Team, or named to that team. He played college at Grand Valley State and led that team, football team, to NCAA Division II national championships in 2003, 2005, and 2006. So he was... a lot of people say, they say he has the best college record of any quarterback. He was just a great athlete. When he left college, he signed with the Baltimore Ravens and then did a stint with the Denver Broncos for a while also. Interesting thing about him is he wasn't your typical quarterback. Colin was a big guy. He was 6'3", he weighed about 240 pounds, and he was a physical quarterback. And some of his teammates said he wasn't a quarterback; he was a quarterback in a linebacker's body, or he was a linebacker that just played quarterback. He was one that was not afraid to run the ball, and when he did run the ball, he wasn't one that would slide to avoid a tackle. He was an in-your-face type guy. For everybody who was on a team with him or played against him said that he was not the guy to back down from anything. He was being a coach of a quarterback. I'm sure his coaches were kind of at a loss, because he was not your typical quarterback. They couldn't coach him the same way. He was not one to worry about being tackled. In fact, one of his, I saw an interview where they talked to one of his teammates, and he told them basically, don't worry about if you can't block the guy coming after me. Let him come on and tackle me. I'm tough. I can take it. And he was just that type of person. He was also kind of, a character. He liked to play jokes and prank and stuff and mess with people. He was married, had 2 small children, and by the time 2013 rolled around, he was not in football anymore. Obviously, he was a sales guy in a medical company, selling medical. I'm not sure if it was medical equipment or what, but he was in the medical field selling as a salesman. And he went on a trip in May of 2013 with his family. I'd heard some people said they had rented a cabin. I saw a documentary. It said that his wife's family actually owned that cabin. So I'm not sure, but they were in a cabin close to the Baldwin River in Baldwin, Michigan. And they were up there just doing normal family stuff, hanging out with her family and fishing and just doing lake river type stuff, what you would expect when people go out to be on some water and be in a cabin and be away for the weekend. He had a pontoon that he would use for fishing, but this wasn't your typical pontoon. This is not a pontoon where you can take the whole family out. This is one of those little single-seater fishing pontoons. So they were at this cabin for the weekend, and on Sunday, the 26th of May of 2013, he decided he wanted to go out one last time before they left, because that was going to be their last night, I guess, there at the cabin. So he wanted to go out one more time that night, and I think it was somewhere around 9 p.m. He had his wife drop him off at this state park not far from where their cabin was at, and he had had his pontoon and was going to fish for, just, I guess this would be in May. The sun was setting a little bit later, so he could get a little bit of fishing in before it got too dark. So he was fishing on it with his pontoon on that river, the Baldwin River alone, off of the state park. At some point, something happened. So about I think it was 9:27 when he made the first phone call. He called his wife and stated that he had met saw two men by the river, by the park there, and that they were following him. And he made some comment about brush was being thrown at him, or he was being hit with brush, I think is how he actually stated it. He was very panicked, confused, kind of disoriented sounding, but he was worked up about it. It was she could tell he was in a panic disposition, that he was not just chill and everything. He was breathing heavy. He seemed to be worried about whatever situation he was in. I think he hung up with her, and then I think there was a couple more calls made. One was back to her, at which point I think she had him give her GPS coordinates from his phone. He had an iPhone, so he gave her the GPS coordinates where he was at. And he also made a statement that one of the men was 20 feet from him. They were following him. He was 20 feet from him, and that they were not responding to him. He was trying to talk to them, and they weren't responding to him. And then at that point, he stated they were on the bank. Apparently, he was in the river, and so apparently he was going to beach his boat and get out of the pontoon, and he was, I guess, going to confront them or find out what was going on. He did make one more phone call, I think, to his brother-in-law, and it was the same kind of situation. He was panicked, and told him he didn't know where he was at. He was lost, couldn't find his way. By this point, he'd already given his wife his coordinates that he had for the GPS from his phone. And they went there and started looking for him, the family. I think it was somewhere around 10:30 when they contacted police, because they went to the GPS location that he had given them, and they didn't find him. So about 10:30 they contacted police. The police came out and they started a search, and they had volunteers come out and they looked for him for 2 days. They couldn't find him. I mean, they found no signs of him. They found his pontoon was up on the beach. There was one oar missing. He was just gone. And the place where this happened was, I believe I heard it was 16 acre. The park was 16 acres of land. So it's not a real big place. Not big at all. But I think there was some other land adjacent to there. But there was a lot of houses. There was roads. We had the river. So, I mean, it was not the place where you expect somebody to get lost, is the way it was described by people that lived in the vicinity. They said you would have to it would just be really hard to not, because you could just walk a ways and you would eventually hit a road, that you could probably flag somebody down or whatever. So anyways, they looked for him for a couple days, and on May 28th of 2013, which that would be, the 26th was a Sunday, so this would have been Tuesday night. I think it was around 7:40 p.m. He was found, and it was less than a mile from where his boat was at, and he was found in a clearing, so he wasn't hidden or anything. He was laying out, face down, with his hands to his side. And like I said, it was less than a mile from where his boat was at, so it was in pretty close proximity. And he was even closer. He was 100 yards from a road. So, very, very strange, that these people looked for 2 days, and then all of a sudden here he is in this clearing, very close to where everything was at. So, I didn't find anything that says specifically we went through this time, through this area 15 times or something. But it kind of sounds like that because of the location, how everything was pretty close, and not a big area that they had to search. He had no noticeable or apparent injuries. Like I said, he claimed he got hit with brush. He was on his pontoon. He beached the pontoon, and then he made a couple calls, and he was not heard from again. So they find his body. They did on the 28th. They find his body. They do an autopsy, and they don't find anything conclusive in the first one. And in fact, in the ones after that, the autopsy, when they did it, they said that they still didn't really find anything that they could say killed him. I think that a heart attack was suspected initially, but that was found not to be true. He did have some alcohol, but it was 1 or 2 drinks. It was very low. It was almost negligible. So he didn't die from alcohol. They did say, because of his history being a very aggressive player, I guess, and not afraid to tackle and be tackled, he had been diagnosed with 1 concussion. But most people that knew him said he probably had more than that. That was only 1 diagnosed, but he probably had several concussions that went undiagnosed. So they thought, well, maybe this happened because of a brain injury. Because a lot of football players do suffer from brain issues later on because of repeated hits and repeated concussions. So that's what they were thinking. But the doctor stated that that could have played a factor in it, but that wasn't why he perished. That's why he died either. He was also taking oxycodone because he did have back injury from football days, I guess, and he took those to help manage the pain. But this was nothing new. He'd been taking these probably for a while, so there was speculation also that he, in times prior to this happening, he had claimed at a couple, one situation where he claimed somebody was following him. He thought the FBI was following him. So he did have some history of paranoia. However, when the official autopsy results came out, they basically said that he inhaled some of his own vomit, and that caused him to have pneumonia, and that's probably what killed him. The interesting thing, though, the way I understand it, although I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical person, but that kind of pneumonia, when you inhale your own vomit, that pneumonia doesn't come on instantly. It takes a couple days. So I don't know. There was a lot of questions around that too. there are a lot of interesting things about the case that made people scratch their head and just, like when they found his body, one of the researchers supposedly described the finding of Finnerty's body as shocking, but there wasn't any elaboration to that comment, like what was shocking about it. And it was, what was, some people had stated that, but it was never understood who actually said that. So who knows if that was an actual legitimate comment. Also, one of the first researchers to see his body said it looked like the body had possibly been dragged there. And there was, in fact, the lady that found the body, her husband, they were friends of his. I think the man had played football with him. He was the one that said it in an interview, said that the body looked like it had been dragged there, the way it was laying. And there was also a statement that said the suspenders on his waders, because he was still wearing his waders when he was found, and said that his waders looked all twisted up. It almost looked like somebody had been, like he'd been carried by those wader straps. Another interesting thing is when he told his wife he was getting off his pontoon to go on land, he was told her he was going to take off his clothes, which is a weird statement. I thought about this and I thought, well, everybody's kind of baffled by that, but maybe he was talking about just getting his waders off, I don't know. I've never really worn waders, so I don't know if there's any benefit when you're, off of the pontoon and you come on dry land to taking them off, or, I don't know. Maybe he was hot. Who knows? But that was a weird statement he had made, make sure to tell her he was going to take his clothes off. The police were real smart, because after they started searching, immediately called the telephone company and asked them to trace pings on his phone. So basically what the phone company does, the way I understand it, is they send pings from different towers to his phone, and it basically sets up they triangulate the location of his phone, where he's located, so they can hopefully find him. So they did this that night when he first went missing, and within a short, maybe an hour or two after he had placed those calls, they did four pings off of 4 different towers, and they received 4 different locations, and those locations were up to 4.37 miles apart, and this was just in a matter of a handful of minutes. So it wasn't like between a couple hours apart. That's an incredible amount of distance for somebody to travel, or in a matter of a short amount of time. And if he was moving between these points, he would have had to cross these roads that we spoke of that were in proximity to this park. So if he was truly lost and he crossed one of these roads, I mean, anybody, typical survival, if you hit a road, you follow that road, or you wait to wave somebody down or something, wait for a car. Also, it was interesting that the oar was missing from his boat, so maybe he took that with him to confront whoever he was thinking was following him. So there's a lot of weird stuff here. The telephone stuff, pinging and being the long distance like that's really weird. The other thing is saying that 2 people are following him and that they're not responding. It could be interesting. It could just be deer, or, a bear or something. Who knows? And he's trying to respond to it. What would be interesting to know is if those were bipedal steps, or he's just heard somebody in the brush or something in the brush, and maybe he's talking to it and it's not responding because it can't talk. I don't know. It's very, very interesting case. You got anything to add to it, buddy?
I mean, that's really, I think you summed it up pretty well, but I mean, that is a really crazy case. Someone the dude of his stature goes out and he's already had kind of previous paranoia of being followed, maybe MIB type stuff. And he ends up going missing, and he hears something, and he's like updating his wife, but he's not like saying, hey, I'm lost, I'm gonna do this. He could have been like, I'm here, I need help, I'm lost, I don't have any food, come here, and if he had to cross those roads, then he should have texted her and been like, hey, I'm at a road, drive around this general area until you cross this road and I'll see you, or, it's really all kind of strange and suspicious. There's a lot of untouched variables that I think that aren't disclosed by law enforcement or, other people that may have been there searching.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, I mean, it goes one. Either he was being tracked by something or followed by somebody. I mean, it could be anything from meth heads that, think he's moving in on something or suspicious of him. Those people don't think right in their right mind. To something a little more, maybe he just, like you said, he was paranoid like he was in previous, previously he'd become paranoid about thinking somebody was following him. Or, but what gets me about it is he calls, and both his brother-in-law and his wife that talked to him said he was panicked. He was scared, and he's not the type person to get scared of anything. He wasn't scared of anybody or anything. He would, and it wasn't like he was, I don't think he was so much a person that was just like, I'm looking for a fight. I think he was just a big guy. He knew he could handle himself well. For him to be feared, it had to be either it was a mental episode, or they had people call in and say, there's a Bigfoot hotspot up there. And I know we like to bring everything back to a Bigfoot conspiracy. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying they've done this before. I mean, people know that there's been plenty of situations where people have mysteriously disappeared. We look at the Dennis Martin case that we talked about again last week. The Key family saw this unkept man, as they called it, and one of the things they called it, they thought it was stated they thought it was a bear, but then they thought, well, maybe that looks like a Bigfoot, and it was carrying something over its shoulder or under its arm. And this was 6 miles from Spence Field where the little boy was taken. And they heard a scream. They heard a boy scream. With the cell phone pings being like 4 miles apart, that's suspicious to me. I mean, anybody that has seen, there's been plenty of people that have seen Sasquatch or Bigfoots move through the woods, and they said it move incredibly fast, and they cover a tremendous amount of distance in a short amount of time. I don't think you're going to find anything in the woods that is going to be able to move like these creatures, if they exist, which I tend to believe they do, just because of thousands of sightings around the world of the same type creature. So I don't think everybody's making it up. So there's something to that. Yeah, maybe that's a case of this. I don't know. Maybe they were tracking him. Maybe they felt like he was on their territory. Maybe they were on the hunt, which is like any animal. The worst possible time you can interrupt them is when they're hunting food, especially if they're, a meat-eating, predator, apex predator. So, or maybe it was just as simple as he just flipped out. I mean, and he had the oxycodone in his system. He already had a history of paranoia. And I know they said, his brain, the brain stuff from the concussions wasn't, it probably had something to do with it. But, maybe it's a progression. Those type injuries get worse with time. So they don't go away. They don't really heal. And maybe this just was another step. Maybe he just reached another point, where he broke into another phase of the deterioration or whatever, and that pushed him over the edge. I don't know. It's a very, very intriguing case. It's a very sad case. I don't know. You got anything else to add, buddy?
Nope. I think you pretty much said it all.
All right. Well, that was. I know this is a short show tonight, but I think it was definitely a case worth. We might come back to it if there's ever any more information that I come across, but definitely a mysterious case, and there's a lot of variables there, like you said, that are open, and maybe the cops know about it, but it's never been shared. But it's a lot of mystery around that one. I'm hoping next week we're gonna have, if we can do it, we might have a guest on. If not, it'll definitely be the week after that. I don't think I have anything else to add. I guess we can go into our outro here. If you don't have anything else you need to say, buddy.
Nope.
All right. Well, as usual, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us on unexplained.reality@yahoo.com. You can hit us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You hit us up on our Patreon. If you have a couple of dollars you can throw at us. That would always help us to improve things, get equipment, and maybe pay some hosting bills. All those will be linked in our show notes. If you have any ideas, if you have any experiences you want to share, any of that, feel free to hit us up on any of those forms of communication and let us know, and we can get together. As usual, we'd like to thank Ricky Young for letting us use his music. You can check him out at rickyyoung.com. We'd like to thank podcasts that got us interested in all this and in doing podcasting, that is. Sasquatch Chronicles, Into the Fray, OK Talk, Saswhat, The Confessionals, Monsters Among Us, Somewhere in the Skies, and is that it? Did I miss one? Grayling Report, and Mysterious Universe.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, hope you guys have a good week, and hopefully we'll be back with you next Tuesday or Wednesday. And I guess just keep it straight and keep it real.
Roadside Reed says she was born in 83 and died here in 99. Through faded flowers hung a black cross bearing her name with letters in white. Driving home from work, I had a tire blow out, and I was in a rage till I saw that sticking in the cold hard ground. 'Cause on the other side of town, there's a room in a lonely house with unrolled ribbons, posters of boys, and pictures of her with friends. Everything's been kept the way it was the day she left. This memory's for mom and dad who won't see their baby again. A flat tire don't seem all that bad. I could be going home to that. And 2 rows back with a baby in her lap, I heard a young mother on the phone, folded flag by her side and tears in her eyes. They just brought her man back home. I'd been met with the world over a wife and me tonight. She's headed to a town where she'll walk into a lonely house with a purple heart, closet full of clothes and pictures of their wedding day. She'll start over again with a little boy that looks like him, and be forced to live with the problems a single mom has to face. Getting home a little late, it ain't so bad. I could be going home to that. Sometimes I take for granted that when I walk through that front door, I've got a wife with arms wide open and a little girl playing on the floor. 'Cause on the other side of town, there's a room in a lonely house with honor roll ribbons, posters of boys, and pictures of her with friends.